Rain fell hard that November night, turning the city streets into rivers of cold gray water. People hurried past with umbrellas tilted low, their faces hidden, their hearts closed. On the corner of Fifth and Market, a man sat hunched against a brick wall. His coat was torn. His hands were blue with cold. His name was Vincent Gray, though no one had asked it in months. He watched the world rush by. Shoes splashing. Cars honking. No one stopped. No one looked. He'd learned not to expect it anymore. Once, he had been someone. Once, people knew his name for different reasons. But that life felt like a dream now, distant and fading. Vincent pulled his thin coat tighter and closed his eyes. The rain soaked through to his skin. He shivered but didn't move. Where would he go? The shelter was full. The churches were closed. He'd tried them all. Then, through the sound of the rain, he heard something different. The soft hiss of tires slowing down. The click of a car door unlocking. Vincent opened his eyes and saw a yellow taxi stopped right in front of him. The taxi driver rolled down his window. He was a man in his mid-30s with kind eyes and a tired face. His name was Marcus, though Vincent didn't know that yet. Marcus leaned over and looked at Vincent for a long moment. Not the way most people looked. Not with pity or disgust. Just seeing him. "You okay out here?" Marcus asked. Vincent blinked. Rain dripped from his hair into his eyes. "I'm fine," he said quietly. "You don't look fine." Marcus reached into the back seat and pulled out a folded blanket. "Here. Take this." Vincent hesitated. People didn't just give things away. There was always a reason. Always a catch. But Marcus held the blanket out, waiting patiently. Finally, Vincent reached up and took it. The fabric was warm and soft. "Thank you," Vincent whispered. Marcus smiled. "You want some coffee? There's a diner around the corner." "My treat." Vincent's throat tightened. He hadn't heard words like that in so long. "I don't want to trouble you." "No trouble," Marcus said simply. "Come on. Get in." Vincent looked at the open door. He looked at Marcus. Something inside him, something small and fragile, started to believe again. Vincent climbed into the taxi slowly, his body stiff from hours in the cold. The warmth inside hit him like a wave. He wrapped the blanket around his shoulders and sat quietly in the back seat, not sure what to say or do. Marcus started driving, windshield wipers swishing back and forth. "I'm Marcus," the driver said, glancing in the rear-view mirror. "Vincent," he replied softly. "Nice to meet you, Vincent." Marcus turned a corner. "You been out there long tonight?" "Few hours. Maybe more." Vincent looked out the window. Lost track of time. Marcus nodded. "I bet. Cold like this, time just disappears." They drove in silence for a moment. Vincent studied Marcus's reflection in the mirror. There was something steady about him. Something real. Not like the people who threw coins without looking or walked faster when they saw him coming. "You don't have to buy me coffee," Vincent said. "I know you're just being kind." "Maybe," Marcus said. "But maybe I just don't like eating alone." Vincent smiled a little. It felt strange on his face, like a muscle he'd forgotten how to use. The diner appeared ahead, glowing warm and yellow through the rain. They sat in a corner booth by the window. The diner smelled like bacon and fresh coffee. Vincent held the warm mug between his hands, letting the heat sink into his fingers. Marcus ordered them both burgers and fries. When the food came, Vincent ate slowly, savoring every bite. It had been 2 days since his last real meal. Marcus didn't ask questions. He just talked. About his daughter's soccer games. About the long shifts driving through the city. About the strange people he picked up at night. Vincent listened, grateful for the normalcy of it. For being treated like a person again. You ever drive past someone and wonder what their story is? Marcus asked suddenly. Vincent looked up. All the time. Yeah. Marcus leaned back. People are more than what you see on the surface. I learned that a long time ago. Most people don't think that way, Vincent said quietly. Marcus shrugged. Most people are scared. Scared of what they don't understand. Scared of getting hurt. So they just keep moving. Vincent nodded slowly. That was true. Fear kept people locked inside themselves. He understood that now more than ever. He'd been one of those people once. What about you? Vincent asked. What made you stop tonight? Marcus smiled. I saw someone who needed help. Simple as that. After they finished eating, Marcus didn't rush Vincent out. They sat there for another hour, talking about nothing and everything. Marcus told a story about his daughter trying to bake cookies and accidentally using salt instead of sugar. Vincent laughed. Really laughed. It felt good. You have a nice laugh, Marcus said. Vincent's smile faded a little. Haven't had much reason to use it lately. Life gets heavy sometimes, Marcus said gently. But it doesn't stay heavy forever. Vincent wanted to believe that. He really did. But belief was hard when you'd lost everything. When you'd been betrayed by people you trusted. When the world had turned its back on you. Still, sitting there in the warm diner with Marcus, something small stirred inside him. Hope, maybe. Or just the memory of what hope used to feel like. I should let you go, Vincent said finally. You've done more than enough. Marcus shook his head. Where are you staying tonight? Vincent hesitated. I'll find somewhere. The shelters. They're full. Marcus frowned. He pulled out his phone and made a call. After a few minutes, he hung up and looked at Vincent. I know a guy who runs a community center. He's got a couch you can use tonight. Just for tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure something else out. Vincent stared at him. Why are you doing this? Marcus met his eyes. Because someone did it for me once. The community center was small but clean. A man named Thomas, older and gray-haired, greeted them at the door. He didn't ask questions either. Just showed Vincent to a back room with a couch and some blankets. There was a bathroom down the hall and a small kitchen where Vincent could make tea in the morning. You're safe here, Thomas said simply. Vincent nodded, too overwhelmed to speak. Marcus stood in the doorway. I'll come by tomorrow after my shift. We'll talk then. You don't have to, Vincent said. I know, Marcus replied. But I will anyway. After they left, Vincent sat on the couch in the quiet room. He stared at the walls. At the ceiling. At his own hands. He couldn't remember the last time someone had cared without wanting something in return. It felt strange. Almost dangerous. Like if he trusted it too much, it would disappear. But he was so tired. Tired of being alone. Tired of fighting the world by himself. So he lay down, pulled the blankets over him, and closed his eyes. For the first time in months, he slept without fear. Outside, the rain finally stopped. The city grew quiet. And somewhere in the darkness, something was beginning to shift. Vincent woke to sunlight streaming through a small window. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he remembered. The taxi. Marcus. The kindness of strangers. He sat up slowly, his body aching but his mind clearer than it had been in weeks. Thomas was in the kitchen when Vincent walked in. Morning, the older man said, pouring coffee. Sleep okay. Better than I have in a long time, Vincent admitted. Thomas handed him a cup. Marcus called. Said he'd be here around noon. Vincent nodded. He sipped the coffee, letting the warmth spread through him. He wanted to ask why Thomas was helping him. Why any of this was happening. But he'd learned that some kindness didn't need explaining. You just had to receive it. After breakfast, Vincent walked around the neighborhood. The streets looked different in daylight. Cleaner. Less hostile. He passed a small park where children played. A woman smiled at him as she walked her dog. He smiled back, hesitant but real. Near a corner store, he saw something that made him stop. A little boy had dropped his toy, and it rolled into the street. Cars were coming. Without thinking, Vincent ran forward, scooped up the toy, and handed it back. The boy's mother clutched her son and thanked Vincent with tears in her eyes. You saved him, she whispered. Vincent shook his head. Just did what anyone would do. But she kept thanking him, and he walked away feeling something strange. Useful. Needed. Human again. When Marcus arrived at noon, Vincent was waiting outside. The taxi pulled up, and Marcus got out with a bag in his hand. "Brought you some clothes," he said. "Figured you might need them." Vincent took the bag, his throat tight. Inside were jeans, shirts, socks, and a warm jacket. Simple things. Necessary things. Things that reminded him he mattered. "I don't know how to thank you," Vincent said. "Don't thank me yet," Marcus said with a grin. "You're going to help me today." "Help you?" "Yeah. I've got deliveries to make. Packages for people who can't get out much. Thought you could ride along. Keep me company." Vincent smiled. "I can do that." They spent the afternoon driving through the city, delivering packages to elderly people and families in need. Vincent carried boxes upstairs, rang doorbells, and exchanged kind words with strangers. Each delivery felt like a small act of redemption. Like he was paying forward the kindness he'd received. One woman, frail and old, held his hand and said, "You have kind eyes. Don't lose that." Vincent didn't know what to say, so he just squeezed her hand gently and nodded. By the end of the day, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. "You did good today," Marcus said as they drove back. Vincent looked out the window. "Thank you for letting me help." "Any time," Marcus said. And Vincent believed him. The next few days followed a rhythm. Vincent stayed at the community center, helping Thomas with small tasks. Sweeping floors. Organizing donations. Talking to people who came in looking for help. He found that listening came naturally to him. People trusted him. They opened up. And Vincent, who had spent so long invisible, started to feel seen again. Marcus stopped by often, sometimes with food, sometimes just to talk. They'd sit on the steps outside and watch the city move around them. Vincent learned that Marcus had lost his wife 3 years ago. That his daughter was his whole world. That he drove the taxi because it kept him moving, kept him from sitting still long enough to remember too much. "Pain makes you one of two things," Marcus said one evening. "Either hard or kind. I chose kind." Vincent nodded. "I'm trying to choose that too." "You already have," Marcus said. One afternoon, a journalist from a local blog was walking through the neighborhood. She saw Vincent helping an elderly man carry groceries and stopped to watch. She took a photo from a distance, intrigued by the quiet kindness she witnessed. She didn't know Vincent's story yet, but she felt something about him was worth remembering. That night, she posted the photo online with a simple caption, "Kindness still exists." The post didn't go viral. Not yet. But a few people shared it. And a few more. And slowly, quietly, Vincent's face began to spread across the city's screens. Vincent didn't know about the photo. He didn't use phones or computers anymore. Those things belonged to his old life. But others noticed. People on the street started recognizing him. Some smiled. Some whispered. A few stopped to shake his hand or offer thanks for something they'd seen him do. Vincent didn't understand it at first. Then one day, a young man approached him outside the community center. "You're the guy from that post, right? The one helping people." Vincent frowned. "I don't know what you're talking about." The young man showed him his phone. There was Vincent, carrying groceries, his face calm and focused. The caption read, "This man has been helping strangers all week." "Who is he?" Vincent stared at the screen. "That's me." "Yeah, man. You're kind of famous." Vincent handed the phone back, unsettled. He didn't want to be famous. He just wanted to be left alone to do good quietly. But the attention was growing. And with it came questions. Curiosity. Doubt. Some people praised him. Others grew suspicious. "Who is he really?" one comment read. "Why's a homeless guy suddenly playing hero?" Marcus saw the post that evening and showed it to Vincent. "People are talking about you." Vincent sighed. "I didn't ask for this." "I know," Marcus said. "But maybe it's happening for a reason." Vincent wasn't sure he believed in reasons anymore. But he couldn't deny that something was shifting. The world was starting to notice him. And soon, it would want answers. The attention grew quickly. More posts appeared. More photos. Someone started a thread trying to figure out who Vincent was. Theories spread. Some said he was a con artist. Others said he was a saint. A few claimed they recognized him from somewhere but couldn't place where. Vincent tried to ignore it. He kept his head down and focused on helping Thomas at the center. But the whispers followed him. People pointed. Some approached with kindness. Others with skepticism. One afternoon, a woman stopped him on the street. "I know you," she said, squinting. "You're Vincent Gray, aren't you?" Vincent froze. No one had called him by his full name in years. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do," she insisted. "You used to run a company. Gray Enterprises. I worked there 10 years ago." Vincent's heart pounded. He turned and walked away quickly, but the damage was done. The woman posted about the encounter online. Within hours, people were digging into his past. Old articles surfaced. Photos from business events. Headlines about his company's collapse. "Disgraced CEO now homeless," one post read. "From penthouse to street corner." Marcus found Vincent sitting alone in the park that evening, his head in his hands. "They know," Vincent said quietly. "They know who I was." Marcus sat beside him. "Does it matter?" "It changes everything," Vincent said. "Now they'll think I'm a fraud. That I'm pretending to be poor for attention." "Are you?" Marcus asked. "No," Vincent said firmly. "I lost everything. Truly lost it." Marcus nodded. "Then the truth will come out." But Vincent wasn't sure truth mattered anymore. Not when lies spread faster. The next morning, the story exploded. News outlets picked it up. "Former billionaire living on streets" became a headline. Reporters showed up at the community center, asking questions, demanding interviews. Vincent refused to speak. He hid in the back room while Thomas tried to keep them away. "This is a private space," Thomas told them firmly. "Leave him alone." But they didn't leave. They camped outside. They followed Vincent when he tried to walk through the neighborhood. Cameras flashed. Questions were shouted. Vincent felt trapped. Exposed. The kindness he'd been building, the quiet life he'd started to reclaim, was being torn apart. Marcus came by that afternoon and found Vincent sitting in the dark. "You okay?" "I should leave," Vincent said. "I'm bringing trouble here." "You're not going anywhere," Marcus said. "We'll figure this out." "How?" Vincent asked. "They've already decided who I am. A failure. A liar. Someone trying to manipulate people." Marcus shook his head. "You're none of those things. And the people who matter know that." But Vincent wasn't convinced. He'd seen how quickly public opinion could turn. How people loved to build you up just to tear you down. He'd lived through it once before. He didn't think he could survive it again. That night, Vincent lay awake, listening to the sounds of the city outside. He thought about running. Disappearing again. But something stopped him. Maybe it was Marcus. Maybe it was Thomas. Or maybe it was the small boy whose toy he'd saved. The elderly woman who'd held his hand. The people who'd seen him as human, not a headline. Maybe, just maybe, that was enough reason to stay. The backlash came fast. Online commenters accused Vincent of faking his homelessness. They claimed he was orchestrating everything for a comeback story. Some said he deserved to lose his fortune. Others dug up old business deals, twisting facts to paint him as a villain. "He destroyed lives," one post claimed. "Now he wants sympathy." Vincent read some of it, though Marcus begged him not to. Each word cut deep. Not because they were true, but because they reminded him of how easily people believed the worst. But not everyone believed it. The journalist who had first posted his photo, a woman named Clara, started investigating. She interviewed people Vincent had helped. The elderly man with groceries. The woman whose son he'd saved. They all spoke of his kindness, his humility, his refusal to take credit. Clara also dug into Vincent's past. What she found wasn't a story of greed or malice. It was a story of betrayal. Vincent's business partner had embezzled millions, destroyed the company, and framed Vincent for the crimes. By the time the truth came out, Vincent had lost everything: his money, his reputation, his will to fight. Clara wrote a new article, "The Real Story of Vincent Gray." She published it on her blog, detailing the betrayal, the loss, and the quiet resilience Vincent had shown since. She included testimonies from those he'd helped, photos of him working at the community center, evidence that he wasn't seeking attention or pity, just peace. The article spread slowly at first, then faster. People began to question their assumptions. Not everyone changed their minds. Some still doubted. But enough people did that the tide started to turn. Comments shifted from mockery to curiosity, from anger to empathy. A local church reached out, offering Vincent a place to stay. Donations poured into the community center. People wanted to help. Vincent didn't know how to handle it. He'd spent so long invisible, then hated, that kindness felt foreign again. But Marcus reminded him that this was different. "People see you now," Marcus said. "The real you." Vincent wanted to believe that. But he was afraid. Afraid that if he let people in, they'd find reasons to tear him down again. So he stayed quiet. Kept helping at the center. Avoided interviews. One evening, a man approached him outside the center. He was older, well-dressed, and looked vaguely familiar. "Vincent Gray," the man said. "I thought I'd never see you again." Vincent studied him. Then recognition hit. Mr. Langford. Langford had been one of Vincent's investors before everything collapsed. "I owe you an apology," Langford said. "I believed the lies about you. I should have fought harder to find the truth." Vincent shook his head. "It's in the past." "No," Langford said firmly. "It's not. I've been following your story. What you've been doing here. You're a better man now than you were then." Vincent didn't know what to say. So he just nodded. Langford handed him a business card. "When you're ready, call me. I want to help you rebuild." Vincent took the card but didn't look at it. He wasn't sure he wanted to rebuild. Not the old life. Maybe just this one. The quiet one. The honest one. Days passed. The media storm began to settle. Vincent returned to his routine, helping Thomas, riding along with Marcus, living quietly. But the attention had changed something. People treated him differently now. With respect. With curiosity. Some even with awe. One afternoon, a television crew arrived. They wanted to do a segment on Vincent's story. He refused at first, but Clara, the journalist, convinced him. "People need to hear this," she said. "Not for you. For them. To remember that everyone has a story." Vincent finally agreed. The interview was simple. They filmed him at the community center, talking about loss, resilience, and kindness. He spoke about Marcus, about Thomas, about the people who'd helped him when he had nothing. "I was a billionaire once," Vincent said quietly. "But I was also empty. I had everything and nothing at the same time. Losing it all taught me what really matters. People. Connection. Kindness. Those things are worth more than any fortune." The interviewer asked, "Do you regret your past?" Vincent thought for a moment. "I regret the mistakes I made. The people I hurt by trusting the wrong person. But I don't regret where I am now. I'm more myself here than I ever was in that boardroom." When the segment aired, it resonated deeply. People shared it widely. Comments flooded in with messages of support, admiration, and gratitude. Vincent became a symbol of something bigger than himself, proof that redemption was possible, that kindness could rebuild what bitterness destroyed. With the new attention came opportunities. Businesses wanted to hire him. Organizations wanted him to speak. People wanted him to write a book. Vincent turned most of it down. He wasn't interested in fame or money. But one opportunity caught his attention. A non-profit focused on homelessness reached out. They wanted Vincent to help design programs that actually worked. Programs built on dignity, not pity. On empowerment, not charity. Vincent agreed. He started working with them part-time, sharing his insights, his experiences. He spoke to donors, to volunteers, to people who'd never understood what it meant to be invisible. His words carried weight because he'd lived it. Marcus was proud. "You're doing good, Vincent." "I'm trying," Vincent said. Thomas smiled. "You're doing more than trying. You're making a difference." Vincent still lived simply. He moved into a small apartment above the community center, paying rent from the modest salary the nonprofit gave him. He didn't need much, just enough to live with dignity. One evening, Vincent walked through the old neighborhood where he'd once been homeless. He saw people huddled in doorways, just like he had been. He stopped and talked to them, offered them food, told them about the community center, gave them hope. One man looked at him with hollow eyes. "Why do you care?" Vincent smiled gently. "Because someone cared about me." That was the truth. The simplest, purest truth. Kindness had saved him, and now he would pass it on. Months passed. Winter turned to spring. Vincent's story faded from headlines, but his work didn't. He continued helping at the nonprofit, speaking at events, and volunteering at the community center. He'd found his place in the world again. Not as a billionaire. Not as a celebrity. Just as a man trying to make things better. Marcus still drove his taxi, but he and Vincent remained close. They met for coffee every week, talking about life, family, and the small miracles that kept them going. Marcus's daughter graduated middle school, and Vincent attended the ceremony. Watching her walk across the stage, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. For second chances. For friendship. For life itself. One day, Vincent received a letter. It was from his former business partner, the man who had betrayed him. The man who had stolen everything. The letter was short. "I'm sorry. I know that doesn't change anything. But I needed you to know. I was wrong. And you were always a better man than me." Vincent read it twice, then folded it carefully. He didn't feel anger. He didn't feel triumph. He just felt tired of carrying the weight. So he let it go. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It just meant refusing to let the past control his future. He threw the letter away and walked outside into the sunlight. The city hummed around him. People passed by, busy and distracted. But Vincent noticed them. Really noticed. The woman carrying groceries. The man walking his dog. The child laughing with her mother. Each one mattered. Each one carried their own story. And Vincent understood now that his story wasn't about wealth or loss. It was about connection. About being seen and seeing others in return. The nonprofit Vincent worked with decided to open a new center dedicated to helping people transition out of homelessness. They asked Vincent to lead it. He hesitated. Leadership had once destroyed him. But this was different. This wasn't about profit or power. It was about purpose. He accepted. The center opened in the fall. It offered job training, counseling, housing assistance, and most importantly, dignity. People weren't just given handouts. They were given tools to rebuild their lives. Vincent worked alongside them, never above them. He knew their struggles because he'd lived them. One man who came through the program, a veteran named Derek, thanked Vincent personally. "You didn't just help me find a job," Derek said. "You reminded me I still matter." Vincent smiled. "You always mattered. Sometimes we just need someone to remind us." The center thrived. Success stories multiplied. People found jobs, homes, stability. And with each success, Vincent felt a deep sense of peace. This was his legacy now. Not buildings or bank accounts. Lives changed. Hope restored. Clara, the journalist, wrote a follow-up article titled, "From Ashes to Purpose: How Vincent Gray Rebuilt a Life Worth Living." It was shared thousands of times. But Vincent didn't care about the numbers. He cared about the people. One evening, Vincent stood on the roof of the center, looking out over the city. Marcus joined him. "You did it," Marcus said. "You turned everything around." Vincent shook his head. "We did it. You, Thomas, Clara. Everyone who refused to let me disappear." Marcus smiled. "Guess kindness really does change things." "It's the only thing that does," Vincent replied. Not everyone was happy with Vincent's success. Some old business rivals resented his redemption. They whispered that he was using his sob story for profit, that he was manipulating people's emotions. One rival, a man named Preston, began spreading rumors again. He's still a con artist, Preston told anyone who'd listen. Just better at hiding it now. Vincent heard the rumors but didn't respond. He'd learned that defending yourself against lies often gave them more power. Instead, he focused on his work. Let his actions speak. Preston didn't stop. He contacted reporters, tried to dig up dirt, even threatened legal action over old business deals. But each time, the truth emerged. Vincent had been the victim, not the villain. And Preston's attempts only made him look petty. Eventually, Preston gave up. The world had moved on. Vincent's story wasn't about his past anymore. It was about his present. His future. The lives he was touching every day. One afternoon, Vincent received an unexpected visitor. It was Langford, the investor who'd apologized months before. I have a proposal, Langford said. I want to fund an expansion of your center. Open more locations. Help more people. Vincent was stunned. That's incredibly generous. It's smart, Langford said. You've proven this works. Let's scale it. Vincent agreed. Over the next year, 3 more centers opened across the state. Hundreds more people were helped. The model Vincent built became a blueprint for other cities. But Vincent remained humble. He still lived simply. Still volunteered. Still drove around with Marcus some weekends, delivering packages and talking about life. Fame hadn't changed him. Because he'd learned the hard way that who you are when no one's watching is who you truly are. Years passed. Vincent's work became nationally recognized. He was invited to speak at conferences, advise government programs, and consult on policies. He accepted some invitations, declined others. He was careful not to let success consume him again. One day, Vincent returned to the spot where Marcus had first stopped that rainy night. The corner of 5th and Market. It looked the same but felt different. He stood there for a long time, remembering the cold, the fear, the hopelessness. Then he remembered Marcus rolling down his window. The blanket. The coffee. The beginning of everything. A young woman walked by, struggling with heavy bags. Vincent stepped forward. Need help? She looked at him, hesitant. Then she smiled. Yes, thank you. He carried her bags to her car. She thanked him, and he waved her off. As he walked away, he felt it again. That quiet purpose. That deep satisfaction of simply being kind. Marcus pulled up in his taxi. Still playing hero, he teased. Vincent laughed. Learned from the best. They drove through the city, talking and laughing like they always did. The radio played softly. The sun set in streaks of orange and gold. Everything felt right. Not perfect. Just right. You ever think about how different things could have been? Marcus asked. If I hadn't stopped that night? Vincent thought about it. I think I'd still be on that corner. Or somewhere worse, Marcus said. Maybe, Vincent agreed. But you did stop. And that changed everything. Marcus smiled. Guess we both got lucky. Vincent looked out the window at the city lights coming on one by one. Yeah, we did. Vincent's health began to decline in his late 60s. Nothing serious at first. Just the natural wear of a hard life. But he slowed down. Spent more time at home. Let younger staff take on more responsibilities at the centers. Marcus visited often. They'd sit on Vincent's small balcony, drinking coffee and watching the city move below. You've lived a good life, Marcus said one afternoon. I've lived 2 lives, Vincent corrected. The first one was a waste. The second one mattered. They both mattered, Marcus said. You just didn't know it yet. Vincent smiled. Maybe. One day, Vincent received a letter from Derek, the veteran he'd helped years ago. Derek had gone back to school, earned a degree, and now worked as a counselor at one of Vincent's centers. You saved my life, Derek wrote. Now I get to save others. Thank you for showing me it was possible. Vincent cried reading it. Good tears. Grateful tears. He kept the letter on his nightstand. Thomas came by that evening. He was older now, too, but still running the original community center. You should be proud, Thomas said. Look at what you built. We built, Vincent corrected. None of this was just me. Thomas nodded. True. But you started it. You believed it could be done. Vincent looked out at the sunset. I believed because someone believed in me first. Thomas smiled. That's how it works. One person caring makes all the difference. They sat in comfortable silence, two old men who'd seen the worst and best of humanity, who'd chosen to fight for the best. One cold December night, Vincent sat alone in his apartment. Snow fell gently outside, blanketing the city in white. He thought about his life. The rise. The fall. The rise again. How strange it all seemed now. How fragile and beautiful. He picked up the phone and called Marcus. I just wanted to say thank you, Vincent said. For everything. Marcus laughed. You already thanked me 1,000 times. I know, Vincent said. But I needed to say it again. You're welcome, Marcus said softly. You know, you changed my life too. Gave me purpose. Reminded me why I do this job. We saved each other, Vincent said. Yeah, Marcus agreed. We did. They talked for another hour. About nothing important. About everything important. When they hung up, Vincent felt at peace. Whatever happened next, he'd lived well. He'd loved well. He'd mattered. The next morning, Vincent woke to find the city covered in fresh snow. He dressed warmly and walked to the community center. People greeted him along the way. Some he knew. Some he didn't. But all of them smiled. Recognized him. Felt connected to him somehow. At the center, a group of new arrivals sat nervously in the common room. Vincent sat with them, introduced himself, and listened to their stories. He told them they weren't alone. That things could get better. That kindness still existed in the world. One young man asked, How do you stay hopeful? Vincent thought about it. I remember the people who helped me when I had nothing. And I try to be that person for someone else. The young man nodded slowly. Vincent saw himself in those eyes. Lost. Scared. But still holding on to a thread of hope. Vincent reached out and shook his hand. You're going to be okay, he said. I promise. Vincent's story became a legend in the city. People told it to their children, their friends, their co-workers. It became a reminder that everyone deserves a second chance. That kindness isn't weakness. That the most broken people can become the strongest. Schools invited Vincent to speak. He told students about failure, resilience, and the importance of treating people with dignity. He didn't sugarcoat his mistakes. He owned them. But he also showed them that mistakes don't define you. How you respond to them does. One teenager asked, Do you ever wish you were rich again? Vincent smiled. I am rich. Just not in the way I used to be. The room fell silent, absorbing that truth. Vincent continued, I have friends who love me. I have work that matters. I have peace. That's worth more than any bank account. The students clapped. Some even cried. Vincent's words hit them in a place deeper than advice usually reached. Because they could feel the truth in them. After the talk, a young girl approached Vincent. My dad lost his job, she said quietly. He's been really sad. Can I tell him your story? Vincent knelt down to her level. You can tell him that hard times don't last forever. And that asking for help isn't weakness. It's courage. The girl hugged him, then ran back to her mother. Vincent watched them leave, feeling that familiar warmth in his chest. The warmth of making a difference. Vincent's health worsened in his 70s. The doctors said it was his heart. Worn out from years of stress and hardship. He didn't complain. He'd lived longer than he expected and better than he deserved. Marcus visited him in the hospital, bringing flowers and terrible jokes. You're not getting out of our coffee dates that easily, Marcus said. Vincent laughed weakly. Wouldn't dream of it. The centers Vincent built continued thriving. Derek had taken over as director. Clara still wrote about the work, spreading the word. Thomas visited daily, sitting by Vincent's bed and telling stories about the old days. About the first night Vincent arrived, lost and broken. About how far they'd all come. "You changed this city," Thomas said one afternoon. "Changed hundreds of lives." Vincent shook his head slightly. "I just paid forward what was given to me." "That's exactly what makes it matter," Thomas replied. One evening, as sunset painted the hospital walls gold, Vincent closed his eyes and thought about that rainy night. The corner. The cold. The taxi stopping. Marcus's kind face. The blanket. The coffee. The beginning of everything. He'd been given a second chance when he deserved nothing. And he'd spent every day since trying to honor that gift. "Thank you," Vincent whispered to the empty room. To Marcus. To Thomas. To everyone who'd seen him when he was invisible. "Thank you for stopping." Vincent passed away peacefully on a quiet Sunday morning, surrounded by the people who loved him. Marcus held his hand. Thomas stood at the foot of the bed. Clara was there, too, along with Derek and dozens of others whose lives he'd touched. They told stories. They laughed. They cried. They celebrated a life that had mattered deeply. The funeral was held at the original community center. Hundreds attended. People from all walks of life. Rich and poor. Young and old. They came because Vincent had seen them. Had helped them. Had reminded them that kindness still existed. Marcus spoke at the service. His voice shook but held steady. "Vincent taught me that one moment of compassion can change everything. That stopping for someone when the world rushes past is the bravest thing you can do. He was my friend. My brother. And he showed me what it means to really live." The centers continued operating, renamed the Vincent Gray Foundation in his honor. His story was taught in schools, shared in churches, passed down through generations. Not as a tale of riches or success, but as a testament to resilience, redemption, and the transformative power of human kindness. Years later, on a rainy November night, a taxi driver stopped at the corner of Fifth and Market. An old homeless woman sat shivering against a wall. The driver rolled down his window and offered her a blanket. "Come on," he said gently. "Let me buy you some coffee." The woman looked up, surprised. Tears filled her eyes. "Why would you do that?" The driver smiled. "Because someone once told me that kindness changes everything. And I believe him." She climbed into the taxi, and they drove off into the rain, carrying forward the legacy of a man who had learned that true wealth isn't measured in money, but in the lives we touch and the love we leave behind. Vincent Gray had been a billionaire twice. Once in fortune and once in spirit. But only the second fortune truly mattered. Only the second one lasted forever. The end.